Hey, honey.
Yes, Barry?
Let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Hasta encontrar la playa, por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta, samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar, samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show, where we're going to be talking with JR about the people of Puerto Vallarta. I'm your host, Barry Kessler, and I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. That music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and he is the owner of the La Palapa group of restaurants here in Puerto Vallarta. La Palapa and the El Dorado restaurants are on the south side, right down on the beach, and they're both run by Mr. Alberto Perez and his crew. And for those of you who are looking for a little romance under the stars, and let's face it, we're all looking for a little romance, check out the El Dorado and the La Palapa's romantic dining experience package. You're going to need to call ahead for this one, you guys, but just imagine following a candlelit walkway to a private candlelit table at the ocean's edge. You're surrounded by tiki torches, and you're on the beach with your toes in the sand. You're enjoying a 5-course gourmet meal created especially for you and served with personalized attention to your every wish. Yeah, you can have that if you come to La Palapa or if you come to El Dorado. But first, you gotta get to Puerto Vallarta. Today, we're going to be talking with JR and PV about the local people of Puerto Vallarta. And we're going to talk about some of the funny quirks that you're going to find down here in Mexico. Now look, I'm pretty sure that the locals can say a whole lot about us gringos, especially those who have moved here and call this place home. If not permanently, maybe they call it home for half of the year or for 3 months or whatever it is, whatever amount of time their home is under, like 10 feet of snow. But anyway, we're going to be talking about the wonderful people of Puerto Vallarta. Now, as I've said before, it's the friendly people of Puerto Vallarta that keep me coming back year after year. I mean, sure, it's the food and it's the beauty of this place, but it's about the people. And, if you go anywhere and the people don't like you, you're not going to come back. And that's why I keep coming back. Anyway, it was really nice to meet with JR at his place instead of over the phone like we usually do. His roommate was there, and she was doing dishes during the interview. I didn't have the heart, really, to interrupt her, during the interview, so I apologize in advance for a little bit of background noise. It's not too bad, and, well, it has that campy sound of being on location, right? So let's just get right into the conversation with JR in PV. Today, I am here with JR in PV, and hey, actually, I am in PV with JR. I'm in his apartment, and I'm going to be talking today with JR about the people of Puerto Vallarta, local customs, funny quirks, crime, and precautions to take to make sure that you aren't a victim of some sort of a crime. JR, how are you doing today?
Hi, Barry.
Thanks for joining me.
A little cold this morning.
Yeah, well, it might be cold for you, but, where I came from, that's cold, okay? I mean, even in Los Angeles, it was 46 degrees the other day.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was cold. So, JR, tell us a little bit about the people of Puerto Vallarta.
Okay, well, the people are very friendly, welcoming. That's one of the biggest things about Puerto Vallarta. I think one of its biggest attractions
are the people. I've heard this from many, many people over the years. Family is very big in Mexico, and that, I think, has an effect. For example, we have, I don't think we have any real homeless in Puerto Vallarta. There's a few really wasted alcoholics occasionally, but
Sure.
they've probably got a home somewhere. The families are so large that it's almost impossible to be homeless.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, that's kind of funny because I was talking about orphanages with you at one time, and you said there aren't a bunch of orphans in Puerto Vallarta. The people have family, right? People have family to take care of them.
Right. The places that people think are orphanages are actually shelters for children. The parents may be, for some reason or other, unable to take care of them. They may be in jail. The other family members may, for other reasons, not be able to take care of the children. There are not a lot of children in this situation, but they are taken care of by a federal agency called DIF, D-I-F. And they will take the child and go to a place like the Refugio Infantil de Santa Esperanza, and there's the other one by the airport, and the name has escaped my head at the moment. Anyhow, these are shelters. They shelter the children up to the age, I think, of about 14 or 15. And there are other facilities after that when they are older. But they end up being educated just the same.
Okay, that's interesting. Again, it was an interesting conversation that we had, because I was under the impression that there are really that there are orphans and there are orphanages and there's a lot of them. But you set me straight on that. And thanks for that. And I have to agree with you. I think the people of Puerto Vallarta are warm and they're welcoming and very, very friendly. You hop into a taxi cab, and if you know a little Spanish, a lot of the taxi cab drivers are very happy to play around with you and talk with you in Spanish and kind of help you along, which I think is really nice. And whenever you go into a restaurant or a place where where you're getting some sort of a sort of service, it seems like there's never just too much that they can do for you. They're really on top of things.
Also, when you're walking on the street, this is a good little tip. If you're walking on the street and somebody walking towards you and you make eye contact with them, it is normal to say some sort of greeting according to the time of the day, either buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas noches. You do the same thing in a store. If you go into a store, you immediately say hello. You don't just go in and treat the person like they're a machine.
Right. So once again, buenos dias is good morning.
Buenas tardes is good afternoon. Now, buenas noches, like when it's dark. There's no actual defined moment.
It's like
I always get into trouble saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. It's interesting because when you live here after a certain amount of time, and you've gotten used to saying a greeting to the same person you see every day going to the market, after about 2 weeks, then you can say to them, adios. Which of course means literally goodbye, but it actually is a greeting to be used with someone that you know beyond the Buenos Dias stage.
Oh, I had no idea about that. I speak Spanish too. What's with that? So you say you can approach them and say adios.
Adios.
Oh, that's pretty cool. All right, I'm going to use that. So tell us a little bit about maybe some strange customs here, maybe some funny quirks.
Okay, well, First, some traditional things that happen here. Siesta. I mean, the image of the guy in the big hat, sleeping under a cactus.
Yeah.
Is what I mean. The tourists come here; they expect to see that, I think.
Yep.
But siesta does exist, except it doesn't exist that much anymore in town because of our tourist nature. Nobody wants to close the doors of a business. But some of the older places do close from 2 to 4.
Ah.
But after 4 o'clock, they will stay open till 8 or 9 o'clock. So they still have the same amount of hours, except they have lunch and they have a little nap. It used to be, of course, this was a tradition that happened way before air conditioning, when it was very hot at that time of day. Okay, then there's the Sunday evening promenade. Traditionally in the old village, the plaza, people would congregate to meet on a Sunday evening.
Yes.
Especially the unmarried single boys and girls. And traditionally they would circle the plaza in opposite directions, segregated from each other. And they weren't really allowed to talk to each other, but they could make eye contact.
Right.
Right.
This is very
stuff like that.
This is very sexy.
That, of course, is the old way, but it doesn't happen like that anymore. They're far too hip now.
Oh, yeah.
So the Malecon is the place where it happens, where people now congregate on a Sunday afternoon, late afternoon, early evening. We have, even in the plaza, there's the municipal band concert in the afternoon, followed by ballroom dancing in the plaza.
Wow. Yes, I've seen that.
Right.
And now the plaza is located right next to City Hall, correct?
Right, it's right next to City Hall.
It is very elegant. You see a lot of older couples out there dancing and doing the ballroom dance, but you also see the younger people out there doing it too, which is, I think, pretty cool.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Okay, funny quirks.
Yeah.
Okay. There's one word that Mexicans in general have a great difficulty with, and that is the word no. Nobody wants to admit that they don't know something. This is very apparent when you're asking directions.
Yes.
When I've been traveling by car, backwards and forwards to the U.S., and got lost occasionally, I found out that it was necessary to ask at least 5 people the directions to find at least 2 that agreed.
And then when you found 2 that agreed, you figured that's got to be it.
Well,
You hit
it's got to be
pay dirt.
closer than the others, which were completely wrong. This is true, for instance, getting a taxi here. Taxis do not navigate necessarily by street names and numbers.
Oh, yeah.
They navigate by landmarks. In other words, I lived for 9 years in a small house, and my neighbors didn't know the name of the street 2 blocks away. And they'd lived there all their lives.
Wow.
But I say, I need the electricity office. Yeah, it's right by the electricity. Someplace they would say it's right by the electricity office. I had somebody once direct me to a car mechanic and said, well, you go down Francisco Villa and you turn right after where the car wash used to be.
Well, when I was coming here, when I got in the cab, and I basically, luckily, I had your map, and I was able to show him where you live, but he had no idea how to get here unless I was directing him how to get there. He got me here okay, but he had no clue what street you lived on. He had never heard of it before.
All right, that's a good point. And also, with taxis, be careful they don't take you where you don't want to go. And I'm not saying this as a scary thing. It's that they want to take you to a restaurant they're going to get a kickback off of. rather than the restaurant that you ask them to go to. Even some of them will say, oh, no, well, they're closed today, but I know a better one.
Oh, wow. I've never had that happen to me, but I've heard of other people that had that happen to them, so that is something. Well, okay, so how would you avoid having that happen to you?
Use a map.
Yeah, so maybe it's a good idea for all of you before you come to Puerto Vallarta to download the maps off of JR's website at vallartainfo.com. Download them, put them on your phone, maybe just have a hard copy, print them out. And that way, what you can do is you'll know where you're going, and you can mark that spot where you're going, and you can show the taxi driver, right, and say, this is where I want to be.
And you will see on the website that I have printer-friendly maps. That is, that they're not in color, they're in grayscale.
Oh, good. Yeah, because, we want to save all of our color ink, don't we? So any other funny quirks that you have for us?
Some more. Well, there's the other word that is misinterpreted a lot is mañana.
Yes.
The one thing that mañana does not mean tomorrow. The only thing it really means is not today.
Really?
It could be tomorrow, it could be next week, could be next month, who knows? But it definitely will not be today.
Mm-hmm. Well, therefore, mañana.
All right. One last thing. This is probably one that you won't hear about, but there's a thing they call bad air. You'll be in a bus in the summer. It is sweltering hot, and all the windows are closed.
Okay.
All right. We don't have AC in the bus. We don't even have a bloody fan. But the windows are closed because people don't want to be in bad air.
Bad air. Okay.
Bad air.
So what? All right. What's bad air?
Moving air is somehow detrimental.
Oh, wow. Oh, they'd hate being in my car because all I have is moving air going on all the time. I kind of need that. All right. So no more funny quirks. Tell me, we were talking a little bit about taxis earlier. Can you tell me about tipping in taxis? Should you tip taxi drivers?
Okay. This is one of my little beefs. It has never been the culture here to tip taxis. Taxis here do not have meters. They work on a zone system, which basically they are the only ones who know where the zone ends and the next zone starts, since nothing is published really. For the tourist, it's good if they consult their concierge wherever they're staying, who should have a list of rates of the taxis from that location. And you should always agree to the amount with the driver before getting into the taxi. Once you're in the taxi, you're kind of like trapped. Mm-hmm. Always agree on the price before getting in. I still do that, even though the taxi drivers know I'm not a tourist.
Right.
Now, tipping is not normal here. That is not in the nature. I mean, they're taking you from A to B. That's their job, and that's what they get paid for. The problem is with tourists coming in and importing their culture into our culture. Uh-huh. And their culture may be to tip taxi drivers. The result of that is that the taxis will, and I've seen this happen, actually avoid picking up a local couple trying to flag them down, because one block down there's a gringo flagging, and they will go ignore the local and pick up the gringo because they know the gringo's going to tip them probably, and also the gringo doesn't know the zone rate, so they can probably charge him more than it's meant to be. Mm-hmm. This is the thing about how importing your culture into another country can affect the local population.
Yeah, that That is a very good point, and I could see that being a problem.
But on the other hand, I mean, like if you're going to or from the airport and you've got a load of luggage and the taxi driver gets out and helps you hump your luggage, then you tip him.
Yeah.
Because he's done more than driving from A to B. He's gone the extra mile.
Right, and also if there's a taxi driver taking you to the airport and he's schlepping your luggage too, pulling it in, taking it and loading it in his trunk and taking it out, I mean, that deserves a little extra, just a little extra, I would think, too, don't you think?
Right. Now, while we're talking about the airport taxes, I better straighten that out. Everybody thinks the airport taxes are a rip-off because they charge so much more than the local taxi, the local city taxi.
Yeah.
The difference is several differences. One, they need a federal license plate because they're on federal property at the airport.
Okay.
They need a permit in order to pick up people at the airport.
Right.
They cannot pick up people anywhere else. So they always have to deadhead back empty.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is obviously going to cost a lot more in gas and wear and tear than if you could pick up somebody and take them back to the airport. That is the reason that the taxi fare at the airport is more than the city taxi.
Yes, and that makes total sense. And I do find it kind of amusing to see people trying to find other ways to take transportation to where they're staying other than the federal taxi. And so, yeah, that's no.
It's not worth the hassle.
No. But we do need to keep in mind that we, just because we're not going to be tipping our taxi driver doesn't mean that we're not going to be tipping others. So traditionally, what is 20% tip for the servers?
I've been living here full-time for over 30 years, and I still tip 20%.
Okay, and so that's a great idea. Now, do servers, they really count on those tips, don't they?
Well, no, I mean, they live on the tips. Their daily wage is minimal.
Right. Minimum wage here in Mexico is about $4.50 a day. So, all right, with that in mind, let's talk about crime. Now, you warned me just a few minutes ago that not to equate crime with poverty, but often poverty, I thought, crimes of opportunity, if you're living in a poverty-stricken area, crimes of opportunity are more commonplace. But tell us about crime in Puerto Vallarta.
Okay, well, the thing about poverty, yeah, I don't see the equation myself.
Mm-hmm.
People may be poor here, but they're happy, or... they don't consider themselves poor because they don't believe they're better off than many people who have more money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they may think they're better off. They see people with more money who don't have good, strong family behind them, and they feel better off than those people because they got a strong family.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? It's not an equation. The whole society is not based on money so much. All right, but okay, crime. There's always crime, and we've got a few. We've got some people here who are into drugs and such like, and in order to, to keep their habit, they need to steal.
Mm.
And there's the occasional mugging. It's very rare. It's not something that happens a lot. And usually it involves one or two bad guys
mm-hmm.
That eventually get taken care of either by the police or by the locals.
Huh. So,
there was a very interesting a tour that was down doing a little jungle trail south of Vallarta, and they were accosted by one guy with a gun.
Oh.
All right. And he robbed them of what he could. He wasn't very good, though, because one of them took a picture of him.
Uh-oh.
right, with their
Well,
cell phone.
good. That's good.
Right?
Yeah.
And-
That's a brave individual.
Yeah, right. Anyhow, it involved, maybe 3 people being robbed. The guy disappeared. But I think his body was found several days later.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it was not good for the neighborhood, and the neighborhood took care of the problem.
Interesting. Okay. Wow. All right. Don't. All right. I won't go there.
No, but I mean, a lot of the crime that happens around holiday periods, Easter and Christmas. The petty crime increased quite substantially,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason probably for this is a lot of the nationals that come into town for the holidays are not necessarily coming for the holidays, but coming to enrich themselves from the holiday makers.
In other words, they're on the job.
Yeah, car break-ins go up, But as far as safety here, you don't have to worry about being a victim of a crime. You have to worry more about falling in a hole in the sidewalk.
That's for sure. Also, I would add to that if you have a cell phone, and I think one of the biggest problems is that people take their cell phones, they put it out on the table, and they leave it out there for somebody to maybe pick up and grab and take away. And these are computers, folks. A lot of these phones are $500, $600, $700 or more. And here's the question: would you take $700 and stick it on a tabletop? When you're sitting in a cafe, I don't think so.
I actually experienced or was around when something like that happened. And the strange thing was that the thief turned out to be a gringo.
Oh, no. There's gringo thieves, too, aren't there? Well, look at that. We've got gringo bad element going on here, too, don't we?
Yeah. Can we get back to the sidewalk?
Well, yeah. Let's get back to that sidewalk.
Okay. I've gotten more damaged by not looking where I'm going than anything else.
I can see how that can happen here.
Our sidewalks are not necessarily flat without any step-ups and step-downs. In fact, quite often there's many steps up and steps down. There's also quite often a guy wire from a utility pole that may be anchored in the middle of the sidewalk.
Easy to miss, huh?
Yeah, especially in the dark.
Yeah.
It's not, very visible. So I, just watch where you're going. The most common injury here is a twisted or broken ankle.
Yeah, and you see those, and every once in a while you see somebody with a bruised face that did a face plant when they did their twisted ankle too.
Right, and then there's the electric meters that people build metal cages around,
Yes.
which are right about head height.
Oh, ouch.
So while you're dodging the hole in the pavement, you walk right into one of those.
Oh, man. I'm thinking that this town is not ADA compliant. What do you say about that? American Disabilities Act, just for those of you who don't know what the ADA is.
Meanwhile, the girls are tripping across the cobblestone street in 6-inch stiletto heels.
Nice. Yeah, I can see that happening too. And okay, so once again, this is a tip for all of you coming here. Leave your high heels at home, especially if you're going to be, in town, right?
Right, unless you take some lessons.
Yeah.
I know, quite honestly, it amazes me that these girls with these really high heels, they walk across the cobblestone street like it's dead flat.
Wow, and they can do it too, which is, that takes some skill.
Good for the calf muscles.
Yeah, no doubt. So, getting back to the crime thing, what can individuals do to ensure that they're less of a target, that they don't become a victim of crime?
Well, you don't flash your money. You don't take a big wad of notes out of your pocket and flash. This is it's here is the same that would be anywhere. Wearing huge gold chains around your neck is going to make you somewhat visible.
Yep.
You're just tempting people who might not bother you in the first place if you weren't so susceptible.
Right. In other words, don't be out front with what you have. Don't be flashing your jewels. And I always suggest to leave your jewelry at home. I leave my jewelry at home. I used to be in the jewelry business, and so I know that you don't bring stuff like that here. In fact, come here and buy some local jewelry. It's not expensive, and put it on, and nobody will bother you.
It reminds me of a little story I heard about a guy who was talking to the priest of a small village, and he'd just come back from Ixtapa, the resort,
mm-hmm.
and the priest said, "Well, what is it like? It's like." We see these Americans, they come down here and they throw their money around like they've got just so much money, they just throw it around. And this is and so they think, wow, this is the reason why everybody wants to go to the United States. Must be a lot of money there because the tourists come here, throw it around.
Yeah.
And he explained to the priest that these tourists had saved up for 2-3 years in order to do that. Really? He had no idea. All they see is one end. Right.
Yeah, they see us coming. They don't understand that, we Americans and Canadians and whoever else happens to be listening to this podcast, we're hardworking, and so that's why we can come and have a good time and have a great vacation, and it's something that we work hard for. And you might want to consider not carrying a lot of money with you. In other words, keep your money in the safe. If you've got a safe over at the hotel that you're staying at or the resort that you're staying at, keep the money in your wallet to a minimum that you think that you're going to be spending that day. Don't go overboard, because when you open up that wallet, somebody might be seeing what you got.
There's a whole businesses that have developed. Due to this image that the tourists have about Mexico. One is, of course, what we call the Marias. You will see these women in long dresses squatting on the sidewalk with a bowl for money,
right.
Maybe holding a child. And it's like, this is what... This is what the tourists expect to see.
Mm-hmm.
So they produce them. But actually, they're dropped off by a van, every day and picked up later at night every day with their takings.
Mm-hmm.
The child they're holding may or may not be theirs, or maybe just borrowed for the occasion.
It sounds like just at home.
Well, and they all have, they live in nice cinder block houses on the outskirts of town.
Nice.
They're not doing too bad at all, but it's an organized business.
Interesting. Wow. I had no clue.
Yeah. La Marias.
La Marias. So any other things that we can do to ensure our safety in PV?
Not really. I mean, apart from looking where you're going.
Yeah.
And not falling down. You don't have anything else to worry about, really. Okay, the pedestrian didn't used to have the right-of-way. It used to be the vehicle had the right-of-way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they changed the law several years ago. Unfortunately, they didn't tell any of the people driving the vehicles. So when you're crossing a street, don't expect the vehicle to stop. Always, if possible, make eye contact with the driver, particularly buses.
Got it. Okay. That's a very good idea, and yeah, those bus drivers, they don't like to stop.
Oh, okay. Another thing about buses, in certain places you have to flag the bus down.
Yes.
Right. There's a stop. He's not going to stop there unless there's somebody to pick up. Do not wave like you would wave, because they might just wave back at you.
Right.
All right. The way to stop a bus is to point to the middle of the road immediately in front of you.
And they'll stop.
And they will stop.
Okay. Fantastic. All right. That's a great tip, you guys. Point to the street in front of you when you would like the bus to stop. And if the bus can stop, they will, right? Doesn't have to be a bus stop.
Right. On a highway, of course, they've got to have a place where they can pull off because most of the highways around here are just 2 lanes.
2 lanes, right. All right. Well, all right. Well, JR, thank you once again for all of your great on-the-ground information, and we'll talk again real soon.
You're welcome, Barry, and I hope to see everybody down here.
We're going to see them down here because we're going to let them know how great it is. And it really is great here in Puerto Vallarta, my friends. Just take our word for it. I mean, come on down and see what all the excitement's about. Now, let me just give you a quick word about crime in Puerto Vallarta. It's a fun town. There's lots of bars. There's alcohol being served on the beach and in the restaurants and in the clubs. I mean, everywhere. I mean, on tour buses. Here's the thing. You don't want to be wandering the streets at night, stumbling drunk, okay? You don't want to make a scene by, whooping it up in some foreign town. Woohoo! Whoa, hey, yeah, here I am in Mexico. Look at me. It's bad. It's bad form, for one thing. And for another thing, it gives tourists a bad name, a bad reputation. So stop it. You won't get a pass walking through the streets drunk in your own town, right? If you're walking drunk and disorderly in your own town, the cops are going to take a closer look at you. So why wouldn't the cops or the authorities take a closer look at you if you're walking around Puerto Vallarta and all drunk and stumbling around and making a scene? So be safe, be smart, don't carry too much cash with you, and don't wander the streets late at night by yourself. Take a cab, okay? Now, I want to get another thing out of the way today. I want to address this in a couple other episodes, especially the ones when I take you for a tour of the local taco stands, and I'm going to take you for a tour of some of these economy Mexican hotels that are in town. The kind that you can get for like $20 a night. Those are the kind that I'm going to be giving you a tour of. But when we go into those, we're going to be speaking Spanish. But I want to give you a quick lesson here in Spanish, okay? Remember when JR says that you need to agree on a price before you ever get into a cab? So let's learn some basic Spanish terms, shall we? The kind that you can take with you when you want to converse with a taxi driver or anybody else, somebody like running a tienda, running a store, or if you're going to be buying stuff. Remember, we're visitors. We need to make a little bit of an effort to try to communicate with the locals, right? So let's just start with the cab driver thing. Let's say you see a cab, it's parked, and the driver's inside, or maybe the driver's next to the cab, and he's looking. A lot of times they'll be sitting in their cab or sitting next to the cab, just like staring at their phone, just like you and me do. And so you'll want to go up to them and approach them, and you want to say, "Hi, are you working?" You want to say that. So you want to say, "Hola, trabajando." Trabajando means working. Okay, so hola, hello, trabajando, working. Hola, trabajando. Now, he most likely is going to say yes. He's going to say sí. And then you're going to say bueno, which means good. ¿Cuánto cuesta ir al... Okay, so bueno means good. ¿Cuánto cuesta? How much does it cost? Ir al, to go to, and then say wherever your destination is going to be, right? So ir al centro, ir al Daiquiri Dick's, ir al Botanical Gardens, ir al... Bravo's Restaurante, right? So, ¿cuánto cuesta ir a, and then whatever the destination is going to be. How much does it cost to go to wherever it's going to be? Now, that's all great, right? But the next part is going to be hard because he's probably going to answer you, and he's probably going to answer you in Spanish. So, if you can't count in Spanish, that could be a problem, right? Now, you could always use your fingers and see if he'll play along with you. and he probably does know a little Spanish, right? Knows a little English, right? So chances are really good that he will know a little bit of English and be able to help you there. But let's just say that he doesn't. You can, like I said, you can use your fingers, or you can learn a little Spanish. So, look, boys and girls, we're talking money. Doesn't it make sense to take a little bit of your time and learn to count, at least maybe to 100 in Spanish? I mean, it does to me. Think about the money that you can save. So learn the basics. Learn to count to 10, and then learn to count to 100 in tens. Okay, in Spanish. So, all right. If you never learned how to count to 10 in Spanish in grade school, I don't know if I can help you. I know I can help you because you can learn it. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis, siete, ocho, nueve, diez. That's 1 through 10 in Spanish. Learn that, okay? And then 10 is diez. Now 20 is veinte. Now 20 is irregular, but you can remember veinte because if you are anybody who has a heartbeat, you know about Starbucks, right? And veinte is a veinte latte, right? So veinte is 20. It's irregular. I'm sorry. 30 is a little bit like 3, treinta, 3, tres. 40 is cuarenta, like 4, cuatro, cuarenta. 50 is cincuenta, 50, like cinco. 60 is sesenta, like seis, like 6. 70 is setenta, like siete. Okay, not quite like siete, but you kind of get the message. 70 is setenta. 80 is ochenta. 90 is noventa. And 100 is cien, or ciento. $100, $100. 200 is dos cientos. 300, tres cientos, and so forth. Now 500, that's a little different. 500 is irregular, and it's pronounced quinientos. But look, you guys, nobody's going to punch you in the mouth for saying cinco cientos instead of quinientos. Trust me on this one. So you can actually say cinco cientos if you can't remember that. Okay, that's 500, right? Seiscientos, 600. Sietecientos, 700. Ochocientos is 800. Nuevecientos is 900. And then 1,000 is mil. All right, you're not going to need to know all that stuff. You might not need to know mil. But learn how to count to 10 or to 100 in tens. It'll help you a lot. All right? All right. That's enough of that. We're going to go over the taxi rates in another episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show to finish up with this conversation with taxi drivers. But for now, I think that we need to think about just putting a fork in this particular episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. So, it was great visiting with JR today, wasn't it? I'm sure you all enjoyed learning a little bit about the people of Puerto Vallarta. So, next week, remember that until next week, I should say, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and send us your message. And if you'd like to purchase a copy of Alberto Perez's song, Samba de Puerto Vallarta, or any one of his other fine tunes, well, you can click on my links page at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com, and you can find a link to buy his music, as well as links to find, well, the La Palapa group of restaurants. And speaking of websites, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com, that's JR's website, and reserve your tour through him, right from his website. Remember, This is a value for value proposition, my friends. JR's experience and his on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that, well, you'd do it anyway, wouldn't you? You're just doing it through him as a way of saying, thank you. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you were to use someone else, so just do it, really. And when you take one of those tours, email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and send us a message. And one more favor, please. If you like this podcast, please take just a little time and subscribe to it. It's easy to do. Just give me a good review on iTunes, too. It would be just so appreciated. Just take a little extra time to do that for me. Get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. So, thank you, JR, for answering all of my questions. And thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler, signing off with a wish for all of you to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
Al río, cuando todo está en calma, pronto cae la noche, brillas Puerto Vallarta.